what happens when you pair up a really good string, Lynx Tour Champagne, with Head Hawk, something that Dominic Thiem apparently tried out when they first came out. Let's find out. Okay, so people who have been watching this will know that I have been trying the Head Lynx Tour. I've tried it in the Champagne, or I see in Europe they call it Ecru. And I've also tried the Orange, where I've really enjoyed the Champagne. I think I've talked about this a lot. Why? Because it has really good spin, great control, but amazing feel. And I think that's a pretty common feedback about this string. This is in the 1.25 millimeters, the 17 gauge. The only thing I have missed is power. It only really gives you back what you put in, and sometimes, particularly when the balls lose a bit of the initial bounce and firmness when they come out of the tube, when the balls start wearing down, this does become quite hard work. So I did ask around on the comments. People are giving lots of suggestions, and I figure I'm probably going to end up getting a reel of this, and I am going to try lots of combinations. So don't be put out if I didn't pick your string first, because I figure I'm probably going to become the Head Lynx Tour guy, where I end up giving lots and lots of suggestions around. If you want to use this in a hybrid, here's 200 different ways to do that. Starting with the Head Hawk. Why? Well, they're both from Heads, and therefore that's not really a very good reason, is it? They're both from Head, and I read online that Dominic Thiem tried the two strings together, especially the Champagne and the Head Hawk in the white, when they were developing these strings. And it kind of makes sense, because the Head Lynx Tour, they prioritize and say it's for control and spin. The Head Hawk is for control and power. You've got a shaped poly 6-side with a round poly. And it goes to sort of say, if I put this in the mains, so that I get the main feeling I want from this, which is the control, the spin, and that great connection to the ball, and then put the Head Hawk in the crosses, then that should still emphasize control, but hopefully this brings in a bit more power. So this is, I'm really excited to try this combo. Some would say, you could probably put just about any round string. People have suggested lots of different strings to put in there, and again, I will go through and try these out. I did also buy Head Hawk Power. This is more, it says power and touch. Some people have warned off and say, avoid it like anything, but let's see. So what am I expecting from this? I'm expecting to keep the main qualities I get from the Head Lynx Tour, which is that spin, control, and the brilliant connection to the ball. And so I want to retain that, but this, I hope to see a little bit more power coming off the back with the Head Hawk. Will I get it? I'm not sure. Well, let's look at the Tennis Warehouse University, so we can see if I pick these two strings, what does it tell us? It tells us, now, they don't really do this for the different colors, so I can't tell with the Head Lynx Tour if this is, because they do 4 colors, the black, the silver, the champagne, and the orange. I can't tell if these are consistent across that. It says it's a reasonably firm string, which I agree with. Tension loss, I agree with as well. It hasn't really lost its tension. It maintained that really well. Energy return, I don't really look at these numbers too much, just because you do get this sort of warning down here that basically says, even if the energy return makes it efficient, is it stiff, then it may crush the ball more, therefore you get less energy. So you've got to kind of look, I think, between energy return is combined with the stiffness level, and that gives you, I don't know if you call that sort of dynamic stiffness. We can see the spin potential of the Head Lynx Tour is really, really high. Of course, it's got 6 sides on it. The Head Hawk is less stiff, and therefore, even though it's got a lower energy return, that may suggest that's why it's got actually more dynamic power. Tension loss is a bit high, which you'd expect when the strings are less stiff or softer. And spin potential, it's a round string, so you wouldn't expect it to have quite as much as a 6-sided string. So all in all, that does suggest that this will soften up the bed a bit. And you would hope by putting the Head Lynx Tour, into the main, then I think the generally accepted wisdom is whatever string you put in the main, that's the main characteristics you're going to feel, and the cross is going to complement it. I'm really hopeful for this, although this will kick off this whole new journey of setting this is the main and then switch strings in and out for the crosses. But then that should be a brilliant way to sort of, for people to come along and say, I love this string, what can I pair with it? And we end up with sort of all these sort of pick and choose and see what that gives. So yeah, I am gonna string this at 50 pounds. I don't want to immediately reduce the tension. You could argue and say if I just strung Lynx Tour and strung it at 48 or 47, wouldn't that also give power? I want to keep it as is, because that's what I've been doing these as, 50 pounds in a full bed. And then if I sort of find, actually, yeah, that really works, then over time I might start saying, well, if I like this setup, what's it like at 50? What's it like at 48? What's it like at 46? What's it like at 44? What's it like at 12, something ridiculous. I think you've got to have something consistent when you're making so many changes. So bottom line, yeah, I'm super keen. The other interesting thing is to say, will this lock up less? So I did find that on its own, the Lynx Tour Champagne did lock up after sort of 12 hours plus, and it was the main string that notched. And you could argue and say, if you've got a shape string against a shape string with a sharp edge, does that actually wear down the main faster? So does putting a round string in, does that mean it will notch less fast and lock up less soon? Some probably terrible English in there. So that's going to be something to really monitor. But I'm super excited to try this. So much so, let's stop talking. Let's get it strung up and let's get it on the court.
There you go. You all right? Here you go.
Okay, not much footage of hitting there, and the reason why it's, I'm looking out the window now and you can probably see the trees in the background on the video. We've got 32-mile-an-hour gusts going on here, and I kind of knew that, and I still dragged my daughter out onto the court. She was a good sport, and we kind of got there and I was like, wow, it really is gusting. Where the ball sort of comes towards you and then suddenly it shifts a meter. So she did very well. And I thank her for that. At the same time, I will say to her, and as a side note, you get all those kids who train indoors, and then the kids who train indoors, because when you bring them outside and there's 5-mile-an-hour winds, they're suddenly complaining and saying, oh my God, it's so windy here. And it's like, do you know what? Tennis is an outdoor sport. And the number of matches where there is not a gust of wind or even a breeze is like, it's very, very few, especially if you start playing, you watch tournaments like San Diego or down in New Zealand, in Auckland, or I think in Hobart, places like that, you are playing in a gust because you're by the sea. Point is, you need to learn to play in it. You don't want to play in it all the time. We were a member of a club where it was built basically on top of a hill with nothing around it, and it was windy, gusty windy all the time. And it's like, yeah, you're going to struggle to learn sort of tennis in that, to a degree. So it's good to play with it. And I kind of say to a coach did once say, the wind is great for the footwork, and it is. If you don't move your feet, you're going to die in the wind. You're going to shank, miss, forget about it. You're going to hate it. Anyway, what did I think of so I did play a match with this, the Head Lynx Tour Champagne at £50 in the mains, Head Hawk White. These are both 17 gauge, both 1.25 millimeters. I did play a match with this on Friday. Well, I say a match, we played a set, and it went on about an hour and 10 minutes. It was a 6-4 set. So we did warm up for about 15 minutes. But yeah, we played about an hour and a quarter. It was a very intense set. Played against a good friend of mine who we do battle when we go out on court. So what did I think of this? Considering I loved the Head Lynx Tour Champagne on its own at £50, but I felt like while it had great feel, great spin, liked the launch angle, and I did like that it would give you back what you put in and maybe not so much more, but then I did want a little bit more power from it. So hence trying the Head Hawk, which is all about control and power, as opposed to the Lynx Tour, which is about control and spin. So what did this setup do for me? It definitely gave me more power. Absolutely, got more pop on the serve, still did preserve the connected feel to a degree. Still did get the control to a degree. I would say this isn't the ideal setup for these two strings. So let's stick on this first. It was a really nice setup, and some people might say, and I did mention it sort of in my intro, Head Hawk is a round poly. You could probably find 100 round polys that will probably all contribute something very nice to this string setup. And guess what? I'm going to try a whole lot of them. I've already got a list of, there's 9 already that I've kind of looked at and said, I've put it through ChatGPT, I've got some setups. And that's the first thing I'm going to say. This didn't give me what I wanted. It gave me the power, and yes, it did preserve some of the control and the feel and the connectiveness, but not enough. It took away some of that great feel. So I think that is not so much because of the string I put in necessarily. I think now we've reached the point to say I've been stringing everything at £50 because that's a reference tension. Now, however, if I'm saying I'm going to fix on the Lynx Tour Champagne, which I am, I've gone ahead and bought a reel, probably have it on, I'd imagine, Tuesday. So I've got the reel. I am going to do a couple of things first. I'm going to try the full bed of Lynx Tour at £48. I'm going to drop £2 on both the cross and the main. Why? Because conventional wisdom says if you drop your tension slightly, you should get a little more elasticity, and therefore you should get a little bit more pop off of the strings. And we're only talking £2, which is, well, whatever a percent that is, of £50. It's not much, right? It's like 4%. 4%, there you go, because you double 2, right? So it's 4% difference. Oh, look how good at maths I am. It's 4% difference on my £50, which is, that's minimal. I don't believe that's going to go and destroy this. So I'm going to go and see what does this do. Head Lynx Tour in the Champagne in a full bed at £48. If I kind of go, do you know what, I like that? What I'm then going to do is I'm going to try the same setup, since I've still got another half a set from both of these packets. I'm then going to try this, and I've got a little table. I'm going to try the Head Lynx Tour, if that experiment works, dropping the Head Lynx Tour to 48. I'm going to drop the Head Lynx Tour to 48, and I'm going to retain the head hawk at 50. That was actually a string setup that I stuck it through ChatGPT, and it came up with all these step ladders for me and described what it might achieve for me. The reason being, and I'll actually show you. So said if I put the Head Lynx Tour Champagne at 50 and Head Hawk White at 50 pounds, and I found more power, but I lost some feel, plus the launch angle was lower, I'll mention that in a second, what would I change the tensions to? And so it's saying to sort of try a few different things here, where it is saying if I drop the Lynx Tour from 50 to 48, that's the main, and raise the crosses or keep it the same, say 50, then I should have more pocketing, more feel, slightly higher launch angle, but then prevents the bed from ballooning too much with the softer mains. So basically what it's saying is that should enable me to get some more power, retain a higher launch angle, get great pocketing, and probably get some power. And it's saying down here, lower mains, more feel plus pocketing plus higher launch, higher crosses, keeps control trajectory or sprint, and you know, I'm going to give it a go. Probably someone else will read that and say, what a load of rubbish. You know, great, it's an experiment. So that's what I'm going to try. And yeah, on the note of, I did notice the launch angle of this was lower. So it just flattened out a bit, which may be because you got the round poly in there versus having shaped, then maybe that's the reason why. So bottom line, I did like it. It gave me that bit of power. So now I think it is fine tuning. It's finding out, actually, can I adjust this to just sort of tweak based on the different tensions? Yeah, so what can I say? This was a good setup. I don't think I've got the tensions right, so therefore, you know, take it as it is for the Head Lynx Tour Champagne in the mains at 50 and the Head Hawk White in the crosses at 50. I think with some adjustment I can get a bit more out of it. And what I will say, if I could get back some more of that feel but retain the extra little bit of power I got from this and get that sort of real precision, so that I feel like, you know, and I mean, just to describe again, with the Head Lynx Tour in the full bed, it just felt like I was grabbing the ball, holding it, almost like, I guess, I don't know if it's like lacrosse or something, where I was sort of holding it and then almost throwing the ball where I wanted it. It just felt that good. I will keep this in here because at the moment I don't see any. I mean, you can start to feel, yeah, you might, there you go, you can just about hear it. Well, not majorly, but there you go. It started notching already. So that's when I played an hour and a half, say another hour and a half today, so that's 3 hours. It started notching, yeah. So you can hear it. So that, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, you know, basically what I can tell you is at the 3 hour mark, that has started notching. What can I tell you about, just very quickly before I finish this, one thing I want to mention, didn't see it in the video, but when I played the match, I really did focus on my kick serve. And I'll tell you what, this did feel like you could throw the ball, and when you're doing a kick serve, it almost feels like you're throwing the ball up and then snapping it down into the court, and sometimes knocking a cap off. And this, it felt like I could throw the second serve really, really nicely. I call it a second serve. That doesn't do it justice, right? Let's just pause for a second, because a kick serve is a really good first serve to use as well if you go at it aggressively and go for the placement. So I shouldn't call it my second serve, because I'm rapidly coming around to say a kick serve, or kind of like just that drive serve where you are going up on it but coming a bit flatter without going that sort of classic 7-2. You sort of just more getting up on the ball but really going up the back and driving quite a quick first serve with some kick. Incredibly good, incredibly reliable, high percentage, and you know what, it's not that sort of 1990s smacking a serve flat down the middle like Ivan Izovic. But you know what, I think I've just got to get over that and say spin is king in today's world. Hence, We're going for spin strings with power, with feel, this setup. It's got some work to do, but it's very promising. Hope that's useful.